At 19 years old is the day I decided to start a cleaning business. And at that moment, I was a college student. I was working a job for my dad. At that time, I also had no business experience. I had no degrees. I didn't have a lot of money, maybe $5,000, $6,000 to my name. Definitely not more than $10,000, which 3,000 of that went into opening up a business with my best friend. He put another $3,000. So we didn't have a lot of, we didn't have wealthy parents. We didn't certainly live wealthy lives. And then, fast forward 3 years into the business, we were doing over $5 million in revenue. Eventually, that business grew into doing over $15 million in revenue. And, it led to a lot of things in my life that I never thought were possible. And I'm not, recording this to brag or anything like that. Today with Booking Koala, I educate people how to do this. So I know, in order to do that, I have to share my experience, my story with people and let you know that I've been there as well, from literally from zero. Okay. Because even before the business, to save up my $10,000, I had to have a job, and that didn't just come to me. I had to work every single day after school, on my free days, to go ahead and save that money. And then eventually, when I had that money, I was like, okay, we're going to open up a business. And while working this job, I always thought to myself, literally, do I want to be doing this for the rest of my life? I remember one time, after a long night, I can't remember exactly, I think I was at a party or something like that. I came to work super tired, and I was like, wow, okay, this is definitely not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And that's kind of when it clicked. I'm like, let's figure out what what I can do um, to achieve freedom. And the biggest reason why is because I wanted, like, I'm a huge family person. Those everything, all my values revolve around family. And early on, because that's just how I was raised, everything was family, right? And I loved hanging out with family, friends, and all those things. And I wanted to make enough money where I could take care of my family, and I can go ahead and, achieve freedom, so that I don't have to literally work all the time, but spend time with family and friends. Okay. That was the whole motivational part. Okay. And after a while, there were other things that motivated me, like today with my other business, Booking Koala, like just seeing other people succeed, that drives you to build something even better. But anyways, that's completely later on. So going back to that point, that's kind of when I realized, let's start something. And I was like, well, what are we going to do? And I went to my best friend, who had some success at that time already. And I also knew that I was going to be a good partner, because I knew with his success, he's like, and he was, I think, not even 19 yet. I think he was about to turn 19. And I knew, I'm like, okay, he's had some success doing something else. He's still doing it. I have to sell myself to him to actually, want to start this with me. But he knew that, again, the values aligned. He was also a person that cares about family values and things like that. He knew that I'm someone I could rely on. We clicked, and we're like, let's do this. Okay. We never had any issues before that. And when we decided, we were like, okay, now let's see, what should we start on? And it was a cleaning business. Okay. Cleaning business was something that we felt like it was going to be easy to start. And um, it wouldn't require a lot of work or a lot of cost, because you could literally start this business for like $100. And you can, we knew this business is just going to be good, and it's going to be more than enough to be making $100,000 each per year, which is what I wanted to make originally. That was my first goal. I'm like, okay, $100,000, that's more than enough to take care of, myself, my family later on, especially if someone else is even working. But fast forward, we crushed that goal. We were doing a lot more than that. And I realized we just wanted more, right? Because $100,000 was like nothing at the time. And we're like, while this was easy, why would we stop here, right? So that's something that changes your mind later. And especially after you achieve quick results, you're like, that you didn't even think was possible in the first place, you definitely don't want to stop there. And all this was possible because we put in systems and automations in place. We never did the cleanings ourselves, and that was a huge plus. And that's something that I always teach people that start using Booking Koala, is that you don't want to be stuck doing the cleanings yourself if you don't have to. There are other people that want to do that. They even enjoy cleaning, which at the time I was like, we just didn't want to do the cleaning. But later I learned that there are people that actually enjoy doing that, and they do not enjoy running businesses or starting businesses. They would never want to do that. So it kind of works out, because as long as you're a good employer and you're giving them good money, they're going to stick around. They're going to want to be with you, and they're going to help your business, and you both help each other. So that's an important part. That's part of the system. That's part of the automation. They do the cleaning, and you take a cut, and you just figure out how to grow your business. So that's part of the first part of the automation. Then there's, of course, systems, softwares. So, for example, we started automating right away with booking forms. So our first client actually came from an online booking. I'll always remember, we were sleeping, we woke up, we were running Craigslist ads at the time, which were free. Now you have to pay, but back then it was free. And we were like, you know what? This is amazing. First client came in from Craigslist for free. Funny story is, actually, the day of the cleaning, they canceled on us. And we were like, oh, okay, this is a rough start. First you're celebrating your first client, and then they cancel. But, we got another one right after that, and things took off. So again, you have to learn how to do automated things in any business, and have systems and automations in place if you guys want to achieve true freedoms. Because not doing cleanings yourselves, putting in automations like that, and then hiring employees that answer customers, hire for you, that's when you really become the owner, the CEO, and that's when you really achieve freedom. So all of that is why we were able to scale so quickly. And the big part of that was because we were building our own software in the back end, which eventually became Booking Koala. So if you guys don't know my story, that was the first part. But eventually, other people came to us because they saw how quickly we were growing. I mean, going to over 5 million with no investors, having very little money, and only being 19 years old. And by 22, we do over 5 million. People were, hearing about this because we were sharing our story. We were, I was talking to people as well at the very beginning with other business owners. So they would hear these things, and they were like, how can we use this software? Right. And that's when I was like, why don't we open another business up and do this? And actually, that's something we were thinking about, but I didn't think I have enough money to do that yet, because I was investing in so many other things. But the developer who built the original version of Booking Koala for our cleaning company, he was like, give me whatever you have, let's make it happen. I was like, let's go. We started the company, Booking Koala was born, which today is home to thousands of entrepreneurs worldwide across many different industries. And many of them who are much larger than my cleaning company, which is nice, because when we first started and launched that company, we were the biggest one. But now there are so many other big owners using Booking Koala. So that's kind of the story. That's how we grew to over 5 million, eventually over 15 million. Booking Koala was born. And I again share this to educate you guys, to show you what's possible, because when I was 19, I certainly didn't think, things like that were even possible, because I've never seen it before. And until you see something, you kind of doubt it, you don't know. but things are possible. So if you're starting a service business of any kind using Booking Qual, make sure you follow the channel. I'm going to be making as many videos as time allows, and I can, and as much as I can, to help you guys out and show you guys what's possible and the right steps to do it. And if you guys are starting a cleaning business, you guys can go ahead and there's a link below to a training that I made. It's the first step to take. It'll go ahead and give you a lot more details on how to do it and all that good stuff. Okay. I wish you guys a lot of success and good luck.